Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Luke Lewis, and today I'm joined by my trio of co-hosts. It's the engaged sneaker savant, Joseph Hooper.
What's up, everybody? Look at this plant that I have. It's fake. It's fake.
Oh my gosh.
I have the same fake plant.
Oh, what
That's
the heck?
crazy.
Shout out IKEA 1 second.
Also owner of fake plants, my wife, Claire Lewis.
First of all, how dare you? All of my plants are real and alive. Thank you very much.
Well, I
Wow.
consider you a co-owner of the fake plant that we were just discussing as well. So, what's
All
mine
right.
is yours, marriage.
I mean, whenever you buy fake plants, I'm like, why not just buy a real plant? You're making us look bad.
That's fair.
So-
Got him.
In rounding out our quartet, I don't know if he owns fake plants. We'll see. The Wii U Wonder Kid, Jacob McCourt.
No, I don't really own fake plants.
Okay.
I kill real plants.
Cool.
And any fake plants I buy are not purchased by me. They're purchased by my partner. And I guess you know what they say. What's mine is hers, and what's hers is hers. Is that what they say?
Something like that, yeah.
So I have no plants.
No plants
none.
over here.
No.
Surprising everyone listening to this episode, this is not a plant talk podcast. We're coming back from PAX West. We played a ton of games at PAX West, at an offsite Xbox event, and also a special Square Enix event, which is what this special breakout podcast is about. So we're running through 4 games that Jacob, Joseph, and Claire all had the chance to play while at the show. Should we just get right into things?
Just one quick comment. I think this episode is coming out after we've already recorded the Xbox episode, and a grave mistake has come to my attention. I have 2 Invincible posters right above my fucking head, and I did not mention them when I was talking about Invincible Versus. I'm an actual idiot. So those are there. Pretended like I talked about them to increase my credibility when I was talking about Invincible Versus.
Big fan. Very credible.
Sorry, everyone.
King of the casual fighting games, as established on that episode. Sweet. So talking about Square Enix games,
Yes.
Jacob, you kicked things off and had the chance to play Final Fantasy Tactics. How was it?
Yeah.
What did you get to play? Give us a little run through.
I want to make sure I was the only one that played this one, right?
I
Yes.
believe so, right? Everybody?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm an SRPG sicko. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, but for some reason have never really gotten into Final Fantasy Tactics, the OG. I've touched Final Fantasy Tactics Advance from the Game Boy Advance days, but obviously when they announced the remake, the Ivalice Chronicles, I was curious. So given the opportunity, I went for it. So this is a remake or remaster. It's a great question. It is a huge leap. From an improvement standpoint on the original game, where they've done a lot from a graphical standpoint, but also from a quality of life standpoint to make this game, I don't want to say more playable, but let's just say more playable in 2025, where before, just one example, you had to kind of wait through a lot of, when you take your turn, your enemies, you'll each see the individual turns, and it's a lot to wait through. You can fast forward through that stuff now, just like small quality of life stuff. Beyond that, there's also voice acting for the first time in this game. So, people often talk about how memorable this story is in the realm of Final Fantasy games. And I will say, as a Fire Emblem guy who's like, that is a relatively easy game to kind of understand from a menus, tactics, systems standpoint. This layers on some layers of complexity on top of that. And although I will say it is, I don't want to call it complicated, but there's definitely more layers of menus and systems at play. Even something as simple as when you move your character, it's kind of a 3D environment that has like different elevations to it, which is obviously way different than a Fire Emblem game, which is like you have like a flat surface and then maybe you have like mountain terrain or forest terrain. There's a lot that goes into how you position your fellas and your ladies, but also simple stuff like the way that you orient them. So when you move your character, the way that you position them to either look north, west, east, or south is actually wildly important to the tactics of the battle. There was some cool stuff that I was able to see in the demo. So essentially they put you in like the very, very start of the game, and then later they fast forward you into a later section of play where you see, without spoilers, very light spoilers, I guess, for Final Fantasy Tactics, a very old video game. There is a betrayal that happens. I won't say who, but you see that story betrayal, and then there's even like a systems prompt that says that comes up and says this character has betrayed you, and essentially becomes the enemy. It's kind of cool. I think I'm gonna play this one, when it comes out. So if you are a tactics sicko like myself, especially if you're like a Fire Emblem fan and you're waiting for the next one to come out, this may be a cool entry point, especially because it's moving beyond being stuck on one console. It's going to be on everything. I think it's going to be on PC, PlayStation, Xbox. You'll be able to play it wherever you play games.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like Tactics has always been like a blind spot in my gaming history, so I'm excited to right that wrong. This feels like a great opportunity, so super excited. Next up, Claire and Joseph, I believe, both played Octopath Traveler 0. Another big one in the JRPG world. How are we feeling about this one?
Claire, I want your initial thoughts. How you feeling?
Okay. I was really surprised by how much I liked it. I dabbled in the first Octopath game, and I found that in that moment I was not looking for as much of a grind as that game was. Just it took so long to advance levels and move through the world, and I didn't necessarily find the combat super fun. I found it kind of repetitive, and so I just kind of totally fell off of it. I never went back to the franchise, and I didn't expect this to be really any different. But I found myself liking the combat a whole lot more, and part of that is because you're dropped way later in the game where you have all these different abilities and things. But the thing that I think that made me question, is this gonna be a Claire-ass game, is the city building elements of it, and the recruiting people to your village, and building and planning and crafting and foraging. I'm like, oh shit, okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's beautiful, just like Octopath is always beautiful. The standard cheesy sort of dialogue, but I was so in. I'm really intrigued by how many different characters you can recruit and then add to your party. It's not just your one at a time adding up to the 8 that it's always going to be, but it's you can have any combination of people, and that's pretty cool, and they all can get different abilities, and there are so many different abilities you can mix and match. I'm like, okay. And now I also want more of a grindy game. I love having the grindy switch time while we're watching whatever show we're watching. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get really into this.
Nice. Yeah, this game definitely has the Octopath DNA. So there is definitely a lot of similarities to the first Octopath that I'm seeing in this game in terms of visual style. Obviously impressive. I think that was the thing that first got a lot of people on board to try this out. And also, yeah, the dialogue is very similar to the original Octopath. I didn't play 2, but it's still that same typical writing style. I think the big switch up here is that now you are the main character. You create your own character. So it's not about jumping into 8 different stories and playing from the beginning of all these different origin stories for all these different characters, which I actually prefer. I like there to be a single story that you go through, so you don't have to do the build up every time. But okay, let's, we might have been on a 10 when we stopped this other character. Let's go all the way back down to a 0 and build this other character up. I'm not the biggest fan of that, especially when we're dealing with 8 different characters. So I like that you are kind of just going on your own journey and recruiting people as you go. In terms of the city building, I don't have much to say. At least I just put 3 buildings down, and I was I don't have space to put anything else down, and you can't really recruit anybody. So I'm this could be cool. It seems like a cool mechanic. They really wanted to stress it, but I didn't get a chance to see how it really feeds into the rest of the mechanics. So yeah, jury's still out on that. This game is kind of fucking hard. I'm not gonna lie. This was one of those things where you find a character right outside the first town that they drop you in, and I'm talking and we start fighting, and I'm leaning up in my chair, wait a second, why are they taking so long to die? What's happening here? And that was kind of the theme of the rest of the dungeon that they send you to, is where I'm oh, this is not baby's first RPG. This takes some strategizing. And I think because they're giving you 8 players, you have 4 players in the front, and you have a back line of 4 players as well, that they're really expecting you to strategize thoughtfully with all those 8 players. So all the enemies are tougher because they're expecting you to hit very hard with those 8 characters in your party. It's going to take a lot of like thought and time to really, build out your synergy, because you will get absolutely whopped if you're not ready by the later aspects of the game, which I think a lot of people will enjoy, because a lot of turn-based RPGs have gotten kind of monotonous in terms of like, all right, use the same attack over and over and over again. But obviously Octopath also has that like secret weakness aspect to it as well, where you have 3 or 4 little squares on the enemies, and you kind of try out different attacks to see what they're weak to. And then there's this whole mechanic of like, you have to break their stance or I forgot what they call it, like their shields or whatever. And then when they're in a broken state, you can do more damage. And even on your own characters, there's like this boost mechanic where you can boost all of your attacks to do extra damage. So there's a lot of gameplay mechanics in this, and I feel like you can get really, really nerdy with it. And make some really crazy builds.
This one obviously based on a mobile game, but there's tons of new writing, and they've pulled all of the monetization stuff out of it to make it a more like console experience. Did you see anything in there that, if there are players out there that are a little apprehensive, that you're like, actually no, this is just a console-ass video game?
No, this just felt like another Octopath video game to me.
Rad.
Good to hear. That's awesome. Joseph, you also had a chance to play Dragon Quest at this event as well. What'd you think of that? As something, you play a lot of JRPGs, especially like recent release JRPGs, but I am curious to hear your take on like a classic franchise that I'm not super familiar with personally.
Yeah, one of my gamer cardinal sins is that I've never played a Dragon Quest game, which I don't know how that happened, but that's the truth. So I was excited to jump into Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D remake. I'm a big fan of like Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Those were like some of my first JRPGs that I ever played. So coming over to Dragon Quest, I could feel the remake nature of it. Like, it definitely felt remade. It looked fantastic. Oh my god, when I got into the first battle and I fought like a slime or something like that, like,
of course,
the sound that was booming in my headphones like floored me, because something that I didn't know that they also did was Dragon Quest Remake 3 or Dragon Quest 3 Remake was that they took all of the soundtrack and they remade it with the Japanese Philharmonic Orchestra or whatever. So you're really getting this fresh, booming recording of like all of these different battle tracks and music, which I like. It was in my ears the whole time of the demo, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. That was my favorite aspect of it. But at the end of the day, this is still Dragon Quest. I think they added like slightly more dialogue and maybe like expanded out Dragon Quest 1 a little bit, and maybe 2, because I think the OG games were pretty short. But overall, it's still like, it feels like an older game. And that was no more apparent than when I went to the dungeon that they put you into the game, and I actually was like, I can't do this. This is like too old school for me, where the map is just it's like a puzzle, right? It's kind of like it's meant to confuse and frustrate you, because they want you to get a lot of hours out of just playing this game. So it was like constant wandering through this tower, and it's like, oh, you got to reach the top, tee hee ha ha, and I'm going through countless staircases, but on top of that there's random encounters, so you have to walk like every couple steps you're jumping into a fight. So one of the people that were working the demo that I was working with, like, hey, just cast a spell, this will avoid random encounters. So it was kind of like this weird clunky a dance of like, cast a spell, no random encounters, walk, search, can't find anything. And eventually the guy just came over to me and like, he was like, hey, yeah, everybody's getting stuck over here, you got to go up this staircase, you got to go around this like little hidden ledge, and then you go up there, and then that'll progress. And I'm just like, I'm too old for this. I literally cannot do this. So Dragon Quest 1 for sure felt old, but I know people who have nostalgia for it will enjoy that. And I think all the other aspects of the remake were fantastic. Dragon Quest 2, a little more modern, but let me tell you, also still very hard. I fought this pirate guy, and he actually punched my teeth in. I was like, what the hell? This looks like a regular comedic character, and he like killed me in like 2 hits. I'm like, I legitimately don't know. So like the games are hard. This is not like a easy mode type situation. The games are hard, expect that. But in terms of the quality of the remake, you guys are in for a treat. So that's my song and dance with it.
2 separate titles in the launcher, or have they put them together?
2 separate titles in the launcher, yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. I know there's a lot of talk lately, given that Dragon Quest is like not that popular in the West. You know, you say, I've never played it. I mean, that's a common North American thing.
Yeah.
But despite that, the series has sold 96 million copies worldwide, or something along 94, 96 million, and they're approaching 100 million, which they might hit with this title. If you had to, you know, sell this really succinctly to someone who's kind of on the fence about the Dragon Quest series, how do you say, hey, you're a JRPG guy, you might like this?
Yeah, so like I said, it's kind of tough, right? I think there are different schools of JRPG fans. There are people that have gone into it because of like the recent Yakuza games and stuff like that, or Sea of Stars, where they do have those like modern qualities of life that make it easier to get through. And then there are people that truly love the old school JRPG classic experience. For the people that love the classic experience or just want to try out like the older games, I think there is enough here that you can go pick it up, have a good time, enjoy the HD beautiful graphics that they added, as well as the music, and just explore kind of the older game, have a great time. I think there's enough here to do that. But then also there is a new Dragon Quest game in the works that got announced several years ago that is on the way, right? So there's going to be this whole spectrum. So if you want to just see what the Dragon Quest franchise was from the beginning and maybe play the most recent one to kind of get a feel of it, I think, this is a great game to add to your repertoire. So
rad. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, any closing thoughts about the event preview overall, y'all? Anything we didn't touch on?
It was pretty cool. Walked up there. They had a little snack spread. Showed us they had a little like intro to the demo video for Octopath. It was like, it was like 10 minutes of like, here's everything you need to know. And I was like, I am not gonna remember any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that the demo felt like different in that mine also had a
like
demo
the presentation
video.
of it.
Yeah, the presentation of it was something that I wasn't used to, where they're like, yes, you will sit and you will watch this video of the producer talking about, what they wanted to achieve with this, and then you will play the game. But there's kind of someone always around to make sure that you're keeping the right pace and seeing the right things.
Okay.
Because I think if I'm, at least from the game that I played, and this might be the case for all, it wasn't a vertical slice. It was, I think, probably the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they were just like, we're going to direct you specifically to what you want to see.
I see. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Shout out to the intro videos, which often included something like, my name is Kat, and I'm the demo representative for Octopath Traveler. And yes, I'm standing over your shoulder right now. I love that. That was so funny.
It was funny.
Shout out to you guys.
Nice. That's awesome. It sounds very different from like on the show floor demo, in a sense that like you could get to any point of the game generally and walk away from your demo, but with this they're like, no, you have to see
it's like very curated experience.
Yeah, but that's cool in a sense that you are getting the full experience of what they're offering.
I will also say, like, on the show floor and people are looking over your shoulder and like, actually you're supposed to do this, it kind of feels annoying. But in this instance she was over and she was like, in the nicest way possible, hey, you don't know what you're doing, do you? And I was like, I do not. And she was like, great, let me give you the quick rundown of like how to use these different combos, and like you need the whole thing you were talking about, Joseph, with the breaking the shield and the boosts. And I was like, I didn't know any of that. And she was like, and then once she explained it, I was like, oh, this is really fun. Before I was like, I'm just doing attack and I don't know what to do.
There was a colleague of ours that I think it was in the Octopath demo who managed to navigate into a section that they were not supposed to.
Love that. Love that.
And the demo representative came over and was like, "What are you doing over there?" and so it was. I got a good kick out of that.
Nice.
That is funny.
Very cool. Well, big shout out to Square Enix and the team at 47 for having the team check out all these awesome games. We're super excited for these upcoming releases. Amazing. All right. Well, I think that's everything for this episode. If you stay tuned the rest of the week, we're doing some breakout episodes for our coverage of the offsite Xbox event that happened during PAX, as well as the PAX West show floor overall and our different game of the show impressions. So stay tuned. Hands in. Woo!
I don't know.
Wait, no. Do your call out. Do your call out.
Do your call out.
We gotta do. We gotta do 4 things.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We are setting our status to away until next time. But until then, I'm going to ask you to do 4 things for us. Follow us on BlueSky at Crossplay Convos. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts. And of course, give us a review on your podcast platform of choice. It really, truly does help. With that, rock on, gamers. Have a good day.
Crossplay on 3, crossplay on 3. 1, 2, 3, crossplay, everybody.
Crossplay. Bye, everyone.